There's a lot of airspace to cover for Milroe. Corner, it's caught! Touchdown, Alabama! On a 4th and a mile! 31 yards!
Alabama, I was born, Alabama, where I'm going. Don't throw your hands up, put up your hand. I ain't talking about Atlanta, I'm talking about the hell. I'm talking about the deal. A-L-A-B-A-M-A, this what I live. Alabama, I was born, Alabama, where I'm.
And it's finally here. What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with the first edition of Tidal Wave Talk, where we preview and predict the Alabama Crimson Tide for the college football season. This is Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media. Do me a favor before we dive into the game. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Really would appreciate it if you're new to the channel, that you would subscribe. And if you love the video, if you just love the content, maybe you hate this video, but maybe you like a different video I've put out there, at least show some support, hit that thumbs up. It means a lot. I don't really care too much, but I think YouTube does with algorithms and stuff like that. I don't know. Y'all get what I'm saying, though. But let's go ahead and dive into this game. It's a new era for the Crimson Tide as Kalen DeBoer steps in for Alabama. Nick Saban, now a college football analyst, did a fantastic job, I thought, last week on College Game Day. I think they had him for the draft back in April when they kind of had him talking, and he's been on Sports Center. I think he's doing a fantastic job. I give him props. Love you, Coach Saban. Thank you for everything you did for the football program, for college football, and we look forward to hearing more from you and your analysis. When you look at this game, though, Alabama has a 97.4% chance to win the game. 97.3, I guess it dropped. Let me go ahead and throw this up there, this graphic from ESPN, where they have the spread at 31.5. This is the opener for both teams. No one played this past weekend in week 0. This is going to be the first game for both of these two teams. Both teams were able to make a bowl game last year. Alabama won the SEC title game over the Georgia Bulldogs. They lost in the Rose Bowl, unfortunately, to the Michigan Wolverines, who eventually won over Washington in the national title. We could go down a rabbit hole with all the cheating and sign stealing and stuff about Michigan that's been recent. We're not going to do that. But you look at Western Kentucky, what they have, what they were able to do, winning 4 of their last 5 games. They lost to New Mexico State, who was a really, really good team last year, especially on that half of November and late October. I want to say they probably ended up winning almost every game they played. I know they pulled some upsets like Auburn and everyone they played, but interesting team there. So don't hang your head on that loss. Won in overtime over Old Dominion in, what was this? I want to say, was it the Pop-Tarts Bowl? No, the famous Toastery Bowl. Close enough. It's still, pastry, toastery, whatever. They beat Old Dominion, but it's very interesting this year for Western Kentucky. And believe it or not, I'm not going to try to go into this and say, well, it's Western Kentucky, Alabama can blow them out and get the dub and we'll sleep until USF. I'm not going to do that. First off, I plan on going live for the game this Saturday, and I actually did a little bit of research and found out some interesting key facts that I put in my notes for this game. You know, Alabama favored by 31 points in this game, 97% chance to win, basically. That Old Dominion win last year for Western Kentucky in the bowl game was actually a 28-point comeback. That was very interesting, and they walked it off with a field goal. And focus in on the offenses for a second for this matchup. Jalen Milroe at quarterback, we know. What if I told you it's TJ Finley for this game? Yes, TJ Finley, who used to be at LSU, then Auburn, He was okay at LSU. He transferred to Auburn and struggled. He almost had it won in overtime against Alabama a couple years ago when Bryce Young found John Mechie for the 2-point grab. Austin Reed is gone. Caden Veltkamp is a sophomore. I think if TJ Finley doesn't transfer in, maybe you're looking at him. But I think there is a little bit of controversy at the quarterback position, even though it was just announced that TJ Finley would be the starter for Western Kentucky in this game. There's still a little bit of a battle going on as far as going into this week. We had no idea if TJ Finley would actually get the starting job right away. And it took him a little while, but he found a way to get it. So, but Caden Veltkamp, watch his name on the roster, is a backup sophomore quarterback. Let's go ahead and break down before we get into how these teams win. Alabama is 3-0 all time against Western Kentucky. 2008, 2012, and 2015, all under Nick Saban. 41-7 in 08, 35-0 in 2012, 38-10 in 2016. Interesting. By the way, all of those games in Tuscaloosa. So if we're going based off history for this game, which it is in Tuscaloosa this year, we would say, okay, history shows that Alabama's going to win this game. It's no problem, right? I fully agree. I also would say don't look at history considering Alabama has a new head coach. This is going to be a really I, I want to say it's going to be an easy game for Alabama, and I think it will be. 6 o'clock kickoff in Tuscaloosa. ESPN gonna televise the game, but don't take any opponent lightly this year for the Crimson Tide. I know they bring back a lot of talent. I know that they got guys out of the portal like Parker Brailsford or whoever. That they lost Caleb Downs. It's been a roller coaster with the portal for them. You got Jalen Milroe at quarterback, backing him up, probably Ty Simpson, but keep an eye on Austin Mack, who followed DeBoer from Washington. Justice Haynes at running back, excuse me. Jam Miller along with him, a 1-2 punch there, and Frederick Moore, Kevin Riley, Richard Young, to name a few running backs that you could see a little bit of this year that kind of stood out at A-Day. Cole Adams is a freshman wide receiver, not red shirt, but transfer junior. Jeremy Bernard comes in. He's originally from Las Vegas, Nevada. He started out actually at Michigan State. Then he came over to Washington. He has followed DeBoer to Tuscaloosa. Very interesting. Can't wait to see him. I also want to see Kendrick Law, Jalen Hale. The thing is, there's a lot of great talent and a lot of great depth at the wide receiver position for Alabama. And the thing about last year, Isaiah Bond was their lead guy. He's now at Texas. But after him and Jermaine Burton, who's now, where's he at? Cincinnati. He's like with the Bengals. He got drafted. There was a lot of fall off with those wide receivers, and there wasn't really good connection and chemistry between Jalen Milroe and some of his younger receivers. A lot of young guys this year. I expect it to not be perfect. I expect there to be mistakes made, probably even in this first game for Jalen Milroe. I'm not saying mistakes as in he's going to throw picks and stuff, but maybe he's going to have a little bit more incompletions than we think, and the receivers, probably a holding call here or there. I don't know. But there's a lot of young guys out there that need to step up, that need to learn, that need to come into this season ready to go. But the reality is there's a lot of young guys that just probably won't be ready to go. I loved the offensive line in the offseason. I loved the defense too, but it looked a little suspect. Let's flip over to the defense for a second. The guy that stands out to me is Jamarian Latham, a senior on the D line. Tim Keenan comes back. LT Overton is a transfer from Texas A&M. Jeremiah Alexander back in his second year. He's from Alabaster. Jahad Campbell comes back to lead the linebacker core. I would assume. Actually, no, I would say it starts with Deontay Lawson. Watch him. He actually changed his jersey number to number 0 from 32. There's him. Keon Keeley's a freshman. Keanu Coat. There's so much depth. I just have questions about the chemistry with the defense. I look at it and I say, okay, they're talented. Okay, next man up. Okay, this or that. How's the coaching gonna be? That's what I wanna know, and there's a lot of question marks there. In the back end, Devontae Smith looked pretty good in spring. Keon Sabb looked pretty good. Red Morgan comes in as a true freshman. Malachi Moore is gonna be the guy to lead the Crimson Tide secondary. He's probably gonna play on that back end, but also keep an eye on 5'11" freshman from Gadsden, Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. He stood out to me at A-Day this year as a key guy that could hit really hard. I'm curious if he gets any playing time this year. If he does, maybe it's in mop-up time if they're up big in a game like this. Maybe he starts. Honestly, I think it's a mystery who all's going to start on defense outside of maybe guys like Deontay Lawson and Malachi Moore. I think you definitely have your captains and your leaders of the defense start out, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of question marks there as far as who's ready to go right away. But you know, it's what makes it interesting. It's what's going to make it fun to watch and see this year. Talk about how these teams could win for a second. How does Western Kentucky pull an upset? It sounds very crazy, but take advantage of a young and new coach in Kalen DeBoer. He's got to handle the SEC now. Is he going to be able to do that? Maybe. I think the pieces are there. It's all on his style of coaching and if it's going to fit. Take advantage of Kalen DeBoer. That's number one. Receivers like Dalvin Smith, watch him, number 17, and Easton Messer, number 8 are key returning guys this year. They have to make big plays on the secondary, which I mentioned seemed a little shaky at times in the spring from what we heard, even though there's a lot of depth and talent for Alabama. Take advantage if they do seem to get off to a shaky start in this game. How does Alabama dominate and win the game? Just be them. Be what they were last half of the season on offense. Be the Alabama standard of defense. Trust Kalen DeBoer and his process. It's a new era. It's a new system. Just trust it. It's going to work itself out halfway through the year, I'm sure. Avoid the mental errors. Focus and prep for every single play. And just go out and give it everything you got. Don't have too many penalties. Don't make costly mistakes. And just go out there and dominate. Malachi Moore leading the secondary and the defense. He's in year 5. I mentioned him. I look at Jalen Milroe. There's a lot of good leadership for this program, for this team. It's there. You got to take advantage of that. You got to have that, and they got it. That's it. That's how you win. That's how you're going to make a statement here at home to open the 2024 season. Year 1. My score prediction here for 2024, week 1 of the Alabama Crimson Tide football season. I almost wanted to say in the books, but predictions are pretty much in the books. We got to lock it in right here. Western Kentucky, Alabama, week 1 college football. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think Alabama struggles in this game, but at the same time, they're going to get a big victory. I don't think that it's going to be a lot of explosive offense. I don't think they hit that 40 to 50-point range. I see a little bit of struggle on defense in terms of just being coached up, but they're still going to be good enough to where they win in the sense of they'll win by double digits. They'll walk out with the victory. I think they pull away in the second half. I think it could either be they pull away in the second half or they slow down and take their foot off the gas defensively. And Western Kentucky is going to find big ways to play this game. They're favored by 31.5 points. I don't know. I see a little bit slower than that. I got them actually winning only by 17 points. And maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not. I just don't see how they get a 55-0 type of win with a new head coach. I think that you got to trust DeBoer. Yes, I think it's very likely that that's going to happen. And I know I'm crazy and stupid for making the prediction, but I'm going to say 34-17, which isn't bad, but maybe that's more of a USF score for next week. I don't know. But I I just think the defense struggles a little bit. And Western Kentucky, if they're on offense, is going to eat up that clock a little bit. So I think you keep if you're Western Kentucky, you want to keep Jalen Miller on the sideline. You're not winning this game by no means, but you at least got to make it to where if Alabama's up and you got them in a game situation like this, if it's like 21-17 or something, you try to go score and it's early in the game, but you're eating up that clock and you're keeping Miller on the sidelines. That's how you're going to avoid being beat by 50 points or something like that. But I don't know. My gut says 34-17 to start the DeBoer era. It's not bad. Maybe I'm underestimating how much offense is really going to be put out there by Alabama in this game. And it's not they can't do it or get it done. I just think Western Kentucky, they love to eat up time clock, and that's something that I think is going to play a factor. Even though they lose this game, they'll still find a way to eat up that clock a little bit for this first game to kick off the season. But I do have Alabama winning and by double digits. I say 34-17 could be a good start for the DeBoer era. And again, maybe that's a prediction for next week's game. Next week's game, I will be going to. I will not be live for anything. I will be going with my mom and dad to my first Alabama game, at least with them. I was able to go. I'm throwing A-Day this year out of the record books because I just it was a mess. But first game was 2022 with Millis and X-Wing and all them for the Vanderbilt game in 2022. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to this season. I'm nervous about a new head coach, but I think we'll get it done. I think we'll build up and win big-time football games. I think Alabama has a lot of potential. But again, I'm not going to pick them every week to win. If they really struggle in this game, imagine next week against USF. But I think we all know that they'll probably handle the first couple games until they get to like Georgia or whoever. They do have to go to Wisconsin before Georgia. So keep an eye on that one. We'll talk about that more in week 3. Love you guys. Jesus loves you. God bless. Have an awesome weekend as every other team not named Florida State and Georgia Tech kick off the season. Love you guys. And we'll see you next time. Ballard Sports Media is checking out. We'll see you.
Roll time!
But there's a lot of airspace to cover for Milroe. Corner. It's caught! Touchdown, Alabama! On a 4th and a mile!